It's midday. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the news here on 3FM 92.7. We're coming to you live from our studio at Adesawe Kanda here in Accra. Also live on our numerous affiliates across the country, around the world. We're streaming live on 3news.com. Download the TuneIn app from the Google Play, Apple iOS Store, and listen to us on the go. Coming up this afternoon, lawyers for Asin North MP James Jachikwason to continue cross-examination of the state's first witness in the ongoing criminal trial against him. The Court of Appeal, meanwhile, is considering an appeal to halt the daily hearing of his trial. Still in courts, though, the contempt case against the Speaker of Parliament has been withdrawn as the Supreme Court dismisses the injunction against the anti-gay bill. And we'll get details for you if you stay with us here. The majority in relation to the boycott, meanwhile, say they cannot marshal all 138 MPs to conduct business of the House. We'll get details for you. Also in this package this afternoon, graduate physician assistant begin total withdrawal of services in public health facilities as they escalate their nationwide strike over conditions of service. I will take a regional detour to find out exactly what is happening. And much later, the Baumia campaign team denies claims the vice president is being funded by a Nigerian Islamic group. Details of these stories and a lot more if you stay with us for the next 30 minutes. A pleasure that you could be a part of this afternoon's bulletin. It's streaming live on Facebook. Our handles 3FM927 on Twitter, same as on Facebook, 3FM927. We're beginning from the courts, where one of those headlines we brought to you, the contempt case brought against the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, has been withdrawn, with the Supreme Court dismissing the injunction application against the anti-gay bill. The Supreme Court has, in a unanimous decision, contended that, amongst many things, Parliament did no wrong in continuing with that particular bill. A 9-member panel chaired by Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu held that a prima facie case had not been made to convince the court of injuncting the parliamentary proceeding. Lord Edward Sarah is joining us on the telephone line with details there. Lord, an interesting case. Talk to us. Walk us through the reasoning of the 9 justices.
You recall that the plaintiff went to court citing that Parliament had not done certain things regarding the anti-gay bill, and as a result had cited the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, as well for contempt, and was essentially praying the court to injunct the bill until that has been done. Now, when the case was called today, the panel, presided over by Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu, argued that their argument, or told the court that their arguments had not created enough prima facie case to establish that the Parliament be injuncted from continuing its work as far as the passing of the anti-gay bill is concerned. So listening to both arguments from the legal representations of the plaintiff as well as Parliament, they unanimously came to the conclusion that Parliament should essentially continue with the work to pass or otherwise of the anti-LGBTQ bill.
And so essentially, Parliament didn't violate any specific rules, and a prima facie case was not brought against, was not developed against the House or in the processes of the bill. The injunction, or rather the contempt charges as well, which they were seeking against the Speaker, was subsequently withdrawn. Was that the reason why that was withdrawn?
Well, once the court ruled that the prima facie case hadn't been established, the plaintiff subsequently withdrew the case against the Speaker of Parliament. They had argued that the Speaker of Parliament had passed some opinions regarding the bill, but the Speaker noted that Parliament was just doing its job because earlier the Attorney General had made certain remarks with regards to how the case can go. And so the Speaker was within his merits in exercising those powers.
Right. Lord, you stay on the telephone lines for us a bit more, because still in court, we know that lawyers of James Jachikwason are today expected to continue the cross-examination of the first witness, which started yesterday, and then at the appeals court as well. His lawyers are seeking to move a motion to raise objection to the daily hearing of the trial. Has any of those cases started?
Just before I left, the case was about to be called, but we know that the Court of Appeal has dismissed the application to stay proceedings that had been filed by Lawyer Chachichikasa at the Court of Appeal. And so essentially it means that the Attorney General, the lawyer for Jachikwason will continue the cross-examination of Richard Tichimensa, who is the General Secretary of the NPP's Western Region, to continue as he continues his witness testimony.
So what it means is that case, which was taken to the appeals court to halt the daily hearings, has been dismissed by the appeals court. Is that it?
Effectively, it has been dismissed, and so the daily trial or the daily hearing of Jachikwason's trial will continue as expected.
Right then, Lord Idwasare is my colleague in the courts for us, providing details. First off, on the withdrawal of contempt charges brought against the Speaker of Parliament, and also the Supreme Court, a 7-member panel of the Supreme Court ruling in a unanimous decision dismissing an injunction against Parliament from considering the anti-LGBTQ plus bill currently before the House. What this means is that it is paving the way for the House to continue with its processes towards passing that very, very controversial bill in Parliament. But in relation to James Jachikwason and the decision by the minority in relation to wanting to boycott sittings whenever he's in court, well, that has happened again today, becoming the 5th time such an event is happening during this session of Parliament, leaving the House empty and unable to conduct any meaningful business. For the majority, the decision is childish, as at all times, all the members on their side cannot be present to help conduct business. Frank Anodompre is Majority Whip.
So that one never arises. Your side is empty. You are saying that you are boycotting Parliament. The substance of my case here is that you said, nobody told you to say that. Out of your own volition, Tuforson said, we are going to boycott Parliament. Is committee meetings not part of Parliament? Is it not? It is. Yes, it is. So who are you deceiving? Tuforson should come clear on this matter. I think that they should bury their head down in shame. It's a very unpopular decision by the leadership. I know their side is divided about it. Yes, they are divided about it. So if you want to boycott Parliament in its entirety. Don't pick and choose. You go for committee meetings and yet you say that you won't come to the chamber. At the end of the day, okay, all the deliberations, whether it's a referral by the Speaker, it's a bill, some agreement that are being considered at the committee, it will eventually be ferried to the chamber for it to be debated and for us to either adopt or otherwise. So why would you, on the, along the line, you decide, okay, this one I want to be part? It's childish. It's childish. And I think that, I'm not saying Atu is childish, don't get me wrong, but the decision to go for committee meetings and not to participate in the chamber, it is not right. And it's not principle. It's not a principled position they've taken.
So that's Frank Anodompre there, amongst many things, admitting that they cannot at all times, Michelle, all 138 MPs to the chamber to conduct business. Amongst many things, the criticism has been that some of these members of parliament have been following the vice president on his trips and campaigns, and that's the area where we're going to, because the Bawumia campaign team has been forced to deny allegations that a Nigerian Islamic group is funding the campaign of the vice president to become flag bearer of the NPP. A Nigerian investigative journalist, David Hundeyin, in a social media post alleged that the Arewa Consultative Forum, said to be an Islamic group in Nigeria, is funding the Ghanaian politician, but vice president is one of the 10 aspirants seeking to lead the governing NPP into the 2024 general elections. In a statement, the Bawumia team denied, amongst many other things, the allegations, and I'll just walk you through a brief excerpt of that statement where it says that the attention have been drawn to the post by David Hundeyin, a journalist in Nigeria. They noticed that the same narrative has been copied by some persons and group in Ghana on social media. The narrative is obviously false, fabricated, and only serves the propaganda purposes of its promoters. For the avoidance of doubt, the Bawumia campaign has no funding or any linkage with any Islamic group in Nigeria or anywhere else. We also know that the said David Hundeyin has demonstrated a penchant for making similar claims against some persons and groups in Nigeria without any basis whatsoever. Adib Sani is joining us on the telephone lines for a bit more. Mr. Sani, you've been doing quite a number of work in terms of extremism and the likes within the sub-region. Do we know who this set group that the allegations has been leveled and obviously the denial has come through? Do we know the group and what activities it is they engage in?
Okay, so the Arewa Consultative Forum. Arewa in Hausa means northern or northern. It's a lobby that protects the interest of northern Nigerians. Okay, so just as we have IPAC, which protects the interests of Jews in America, or the Christian Association of Nigeria, which protects the interests of Nigerian Christians, it's normal within the political scheme of things for such lobby groups to sponsor politicians, so when they come to power, they are able to hold their, interests, okay, at heart. The group, I must indicate, is born out of the Northern People's Congress, which ended during the 1966 coup in Nigeria. Okay, the only issue I had with the group was their association with another group called the Northern People's Congress, something like that. That was militant in posture. But since 2000, this group has metamorphosed into something more like a democratic entity that protects the interests of Northerners. Let me state categorically that there is nothing Islamist about that group, as in the word Islamist. There's nothing Islamist about it, because I know some individuals who are involved in what they have been doing over the period. My issue is foreign donations or foreign investments in our politics.
Right.
Because when care is not taken, you might open the floodgates. So instead of protecting the interests of Ghanaians, you might end up massaging the egos of certain foreign entities to the detriment of Ghana, just because they funded your campaign. So what I think should be done is for an investigation. I believe in investigations. Sometimes when issues like this come up, we just talk about it and it dies. No, we have to investigate, and I think also review our electoral laws. In the U.S., it's a different ballgame altogether. You don't galvanize resources and use it just as you wish. There are laws, around it,
right,
where the money should come from and all that. But in Ghana, it looks so open and unregulated.
Right. Mr. Sani, I appreciate that you could speak to us this afternoon.
My pleasure.
That's Adib Sani, a security analyst there, joining us on the telephone line with a bit more. And you're listening to the news here on 3FM 92.7. We're streaming live on Facebook. Our handles 3FM 927. Top of the stories we've been bringing to you. Supreme Court dismisses injunction application brought against Parliament over the controversial anti-LGBTQ plus bill. The contempt charges also brought against the Speaker has subsequently been withdrawn. Also, the appeals court have dismissed the application by lawyers of James Jachikwesin to stop the daily hearing of his criminal trial currently at the High Court. And so that's just one of the many things that we've been bringing to you in the last 15 minutes. To some other matters now, because the leadership of the buffer stock company are in a meeting with the Education Ministry on the way forward regarding the disbursement of part payment of arrears owed them. The Agri Minister yesterday confirmed to Parliament the transfer of some 100 million cedis into the account of the buffer stock company. Members of the National Food Suppliers Association have pitched camp at the premises of the buffer stock company awaiting payments. George Queening is my colleague there who joined us on the telephone line for details as to exactly what the case is. With details, he's joined us on the telephone lines now. George, exactly what is happening at the buffer stock company?
Yeah, like I indicated early on, the minister confirmed yesterday that they've transferred some 100 million cedis of 203 million cedis to the account of buffer stock. And so that is the news that is out there. And so the suppliers actually are here at buffer stock awaiting payment. But as it stands now, there's a meeting ongoing at the Education Ministry between leadership of buffer stock and that of the ministry. So from there, we'll know when exactly what time the checks will be given to these suppliers.
And on conversations about the second half of their payment, has that come up?
Yeah, so the minister said after 30 days of the part payments, that's when they would take the other payment. Let's say a month after today. And when the suppliers did their press conference on Monday, they put it out there that they won't take half payment. And that even if they get that half payment, they'll take it all right and still resume picketing. And you are aware that that 100 million is part payment. So if that is anything to go by, it means that they'll resume picketing.
Right then, George Queening at the Buffer Stock Company Limited there providing details. Now, the Chief Director for the Lands Ministry, the outfit, maintains that the outfit has never engaged the services of land guards to protect state lands, as widely reported in the media. Member of Parliament for Tamale North, Al-Hassan Suini, had attributed comment to Professor Agbesinyala suggesting the use of a land guard by government to protect some state lands. The Lands and Natural Resources Ministry on Monday, through a release, categorically denied the claim while appearing before the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament. The Chief Director reiterated the ministry's stance on the matter. We'll hear from him shortly, but let's take you to the Information Ministry now, where there's been an ongoing news conference in relation to the use of plastics, and manufacturers of products with plastic packing will start paying for the collection, recycling and management of the plastic waste, according to the Environment, Science and Technology Ministry. The ministry is developing a legal framework that will make this initiative mandatory for plastic producers. Grace Hamwa Ajiman is at that news conference. She joins us on the telephone line with a bit more. Grace, talk to us. What is informing this decision? Has largely to do with pollution and a lot of the rubbers that we're seeing around?
Yes, Mawuena, it's largely got to do with that. We know that the fight against plastic waste over the years has been all about government should do this, government should do that. Or the other bit is also sensitization among consumers. But this time the ministry says at the end of the day, it is the producers of these products with plastic packaging that's really bring these products out. And so if there's going to be a fight against plastic waste, then they must also be roped in. The minister makes a point that this is an international best practice that is done elsewhere in other countries. And so if Ghana has signed on into some conventions that protect the environment, then it is time for us to also start what they describe as the extended responsibility system, where producers, manufacturers will have to pay for the collection, management, and recycling of plastic products. The other bit to this is that if these producers are going to allocate funds for the management and recycling, then it means consumers at the end of the day are also going to pay for the money that they are going to raise. So that is a question among consumers now, if whether they are going to pay for the money that the producers will have to look for in making sure that plastic waste is properly managed in the country.
Right then, Grace, many thanks for those details. Grace Hamwachima, my colleague at the Information Ministry, and that news conference there. I mentioned ongoing Public Account Committee sitting where the Chief Director for the Lands Ministry has been denying the claims of the use of land guards. Here are excerpts from the sitting which is currently ongoing.
We don't use land guards. We use the official security forces services to reclaim government land if need be. Beyond that, please, no comment. Yes.
Yes, so Chama, I wanted to get clarification. He said the news out there is that you said something. You're saying that you haven't said it. What did you say that they misinterpreted?
What exactly I said was that the ministry since 2012 had contracted a company called Aniok Holdings. And this company actually is engaged in reclaiming land for government. So I think the ministry or the Lands Commission actually reserve the right to use all kinds of agencies.
Are you saying that they can use land guards, all sorts of? That's what you're saying. Are you saying that they can use land guards?
I said agencies. Land guard, I think land guard, Raja, unfortunately, is a terminology that all of us want to, don't want to be associated with. I think we know what land guards are. Yeah.
So those are excerpts from the Public Accounts Committee sitting, and we will, amongst many things, continue to bring you details from there. But let's switch our attention to health now, because the strike by the Graduate Physician Assistant Association has entered its second phase of a total withdrawal of services. The association, among others, is kicking against the introduction of a new scope of work for physician assistants by the Medical and Dental Council. One of such physician assistants has been speaking to 3FM.
We have the Graduate Physician Assistants Association and the Federation of Physician Assistants and the Mother Association, which is the Ghana Physician Assistants Association, that is GPA. So this strike was supposed to be a unity, something between the three fronts that are there, but it didn't happen that way. It has been initiated by GRAPAC, that is the Graduate Physician Assistants Association of Ghana. And if you are not a member, I belong to the other bigger front, that is the GPA. I'm a member of the GPA. That is why you see me working today.
So that's a physician assistant at Kenyasi in the Ashanti region. Let's touch base with Christopher Mark, who's in the northern part of the country, for us with details. Chris, has the strike taken any real effect or had any real impact on healthcare delivery where you are?
Yeah, so Mawuena, for now, it hasn't had any impact because here in the northeast region where I am, most of the facilities I have visited, the physician assistants there have indicated to me that they are yet to get an official communication from their executives as to the start of the strike actually. So they are not adhering to the strike as it stands now, but for them, they will join the strike should they get any communication from their leadership that the strike has taken effect. So as it stands now, they are working.
Right, and so they are working in the north where Christopher Marco is. Let's touch base with Ibrahim Abubakar, who's in the Ashanti region, find out if it's similar there. Ibrahim, Christopher mentions that they are working in the northern region. Is it the same in the Ashanti region?
Mawuena, they are divided here. We have some group of physician assistants who have laid down their tools. In fact, I went to the Kumasi South Hospital this morning and I realized that all the physician assistants there didn't come to us. But for that facility, fortunately for them, because they have medical officers, they are able to improvise. But with the health centers where they are usually being manned by physician assistants, where usually the impacts are being felt, the people who are heading those facilities are members of GPAA who have not joined the strike. The information we are gathering is that the Ghana Physician Assistant Association, which is the mother body, will also be holding a press conference in Accra this afternoon. And the indication we are getting is that it's possible they may also join the strike within the course of the week. So that is when the impact will be felt greatly. But in all, they all have the same concern that has to do with their scope of work, the issues that they believe will tie their hands at their back and also render them impotent. I engaged with the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the Graduate Physician Assistant Association, Sayub Salam.
Once today we are on withdrawal on all emergency services and that kind of stuff, the patients are going to suffer, and it is not our making. Because remember, no practitioner wants to practice without a sound mind. So it is what we are even doing is that we are saving the Ghanaian patients in a sense that this scope of practice they are trying to impose on PAs, assuming even it comes into practice, where you are in a sub-district level. And now, the new scope is doing what we call direct supervision. So now they are telling you that when you see a case, the patient cannot go for medication. You have to give, whether it's a folder or any kind of information, to the medical officer. The medical officer has to certify that what you have given to the patient, you should go for the medication. So even if the new scope is going to come, and then you are at the sub-district level, where you have attended to about 50 patients, no medical officer is there. So it means that you have two options. Either you have to use your own phone credits, call the medical officer who is at probably the district or maybe the regional level, that by giving an account of all the 50 patients, even if you have that kind of zeal to do that.
That's Sayub Salam. He's the Ashanti Regional Chair of the Physician Assistant. Earlier, you heard me speak to Ibrahim Abubakar, my colleague in the Ashanti region. We're staying on health because government says it will reduce local production of medical oxygen to end the periodic scarcity. It will resource, rather, local production of medical oxygen to end the periodic scarcity of oxygen at the various hospitals. At the launch of the National Oxygen Policy, Chief of Staff, Akosia Fremop Opare, said government will ensure that oxygen plants with bed capacity of over 100 will be well resourced to produce oxygen on site across the country. Well, for the health minister, he says the government will ensure strict monitoring system to bring the set policy to life.
Health facilities need easy access to oxygen production plants. Suppliers of oxygen, medical oxygen, need to be paid timely and regularly. All these will require a dialogue at various levels. My interest in formulating policies to give clear guidance to work of the ministry is just not the writing and publishing a nice document to be lodged. I made a fanfare, but rather to see the implementation of the document. For this reason, a strategic action plan has also been developed to give guidance to the implementation of the policy.
That's the Health Minister, Kweku Ajiman Menu there, and that's it for this afternoon's edition of the news here on 3FM 92.7. As always, a lot more news if you log on to 3news.com. But top stories for you this afternoon, amongst many things, the injunction application against Parliament has been dismissed by a unanimous decision. A 9-member panel of the Justices of the Supreme Court, chaired by the Chief Justice herself, Gertrude Tokonu, they've held that a prima facie case had not been established or convinced the court enough in injuncting the parliamentary proceedings. And in that regard as well, the contempt application of the contempt charges brought against the Speaker of Parliament as well has been withdrawn. A lot more news if you log on to 3news.com. As always, the business team, they're on standby to bring us the very latest from the world of business. I am Eric Mawuena Egbeta. A lot more news if you log on to 3news.com.
Brace yourselves for another electrifying season of Ghana's most beautiful. The chosen ones prepare to embark on a transformational adventure. Our esteemed panel of judges, industry experts, and cultural icons will be present every step of the way to help these extraordinary women define their future. The stage is set for an unforgettable season